Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan. It's not Spawn year, and it's day 32 of my comic review of video day calendar. Today I'm going to review a Birds of Prey comic that I'm not in love with, but I own it, and I read it again. I hadn't read this in a long time, and I don't know, maybe at some point I'll finish this miniseries and review the whole thing. I probably won't spend a ton of time on this. I think this is the first single issue that I will have reviewed that's the start of just a 4-issue or 5 or 6 issue miniseries, and I may do a few more of those throughout the year, just, starting things. It's a little bit weird to do because it wouldn't take that long to read the rest of it, but the exercise here is single issues in comics, and the reason I picked this in particular, this is Birds of Prey Manhunt number 1 of 4, and the reason I'm tackling this is because it's the first Birds of Prey comic that I ever bought and read, and I don't own a lot of Birds of Prey. I would like to start collecting this series. It's a thing I bring up a lot because I was a big fan of the TV show when it was on, and I like the idea and the overall kind of feel of Birds of Prey and some of the stuff with that I've read. I've actually read the first, 25 or 30 issues now. I did that last year of the original Birds of Prey ongoing from the early 90s, which was written by Chuck Dixon, just like this is, and it's a little hit and miss. Some of those story arcs I like more than others, but overall, it's a real fun, fast, escapist kind of book. There's some real good crime drama in it, and that is pretty much still what we have here, but we're changing the cast up a little bit. And so I bought this at a flea market or a vintage stock or something. Well, actually, at the time, it wouldn't have been vintage stock. Would it have been? This would have been in the early 2000s when nobody's going to care about this, but when I was still living in Lawrence, and it was while I was in high school, and so, I don't know, I bought this at a comic shop or a half-price books or something, but anyway, who cares? I bought this because I was liking that TV show, and, it doesn't hold up super well, but I still have a place in my heart for it, and I still think that is the best casting we'll maybe ever get for Barbara Gordon, particularly during the Oracle period. Don't get me wrong, I hope we get an Oracle in the movies under Gunn at some point, but I really like their version of that character, and they reinvented Huntress as kind of some kind of midpoint between the Earth 2 Huntress and the Helena Bertinelli Huntress. But anyway, this was immediately weird for me because I wasn't used to a status quo where Huntress and Black Canary didn't know each other, and Huntress wasn't really on the team, and Oracle is against her before they're best friends. I got kind of whiplash when I first read this because I expected this team to be together already, and because I had not read the comics, I didn't realize just how much of a departure the TV show was from the initial status quo with Birds of Prey, which is all about, in the first place, pretty much just Dina and Barbara, and there are other female characters that come in and out of the team here and there, but by and large, it's a duo, and it's more, especially in the earlier issues, and I'm talking about the original ongoing now, it's more about Dina flying solo and Oracle in her ear, which is very much the Terry McGinnis, Bruce Wayne kind of dynamic, and makes me wonder if there was anybody looking at Birds of Prey and thinking about that when that dynamic was put together, when that relationship was formed for Batman Beyond, for the cartoon show, where you have somebody at a computer that's kind of the man of the chair, who's in the earpiece of the superhero, giving that person direction and suggestions, and letting them know what's maybe coming next, and which door to go through, and all of that, kind of playing Morpheus for them. And now we can't get away from that in a lot of superhero stuff, and we had this with the CW shows. They all had to have that guy in the chair, but this was a big, early version of that, where it's a little bit more of, maybe some superhero books did that before that, but, the technology had to be good enough, and so we're just at the place where it makes sense to have that, where you've got somebody at a computer that's talking over an earpiece, and you don't have to worry about reception or anything. And anyway, this was, so like I said, this was weird because in the TV show, Huntress and Oracle are friends from the beginning, and they know each other right away. And in the original ongoing, when it's Dina and Helena, it's several issues before she even knows Oracle's secret identity. So it's more of a secret agent book than it is a superhero book, or it's some kind of mashup of those things. And then Oracle is even a secret to Huntress, or pardon me, to Black Canary. And then eventually they become good friends and they know each other's identity, or I guess Barbara always knows her identity. Actually, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure she does, because I think the idea is that she's Oracle, she kind of knows all, she's a computer genius, she can figure these things out, and so maybe she pretends like she doesn't. I think that's how that's handled. It's been a few months, but anyway. So here they're going to meet for the first time and develop that threesome kind of team. And the premise here is that Huntress and Black Canary are both after the same bad guy because they want revenge. The title of this story, not a great title, is Where Revenge Delights, which it's kind of weird when a miniseries like this feels the need to have a secondary title. Like, the name of the mini is Manhunt, and this kind of reads like, and I've read a lot of minis that do this, but I don't understand it, because it reads like this thinks it's going to be an ongoing, even though it's one of four, like it's supposed to be a miniseries, but you have stories for arcs of a series, but this is one miniseries, so why does it need an alternate title? I don't know. By the way, I didn't mention who wrote and drew this. Well, I did say Chuck Dixon wrote this, and my assumption, and I don't know this for sure, is that the Birds of Prey ongoing wasn't selling well enough to continue, so he was allowed to just do periodic miniseries and one-shots, and there are a few of these. I've got the oversized one-shot that's Catwoman and Black Canary, I think, but it's a big shot of Catwoman on the cover. I think she's kind of the main character in it. And then I think there might be another miniseries, I forget. And then over the years, off and on, Birds of Prey has gotten ongoings. And there was one during New 52, and then it's a staple now. There tends to be a Birds of Prey series, and it's not always the same cast. It doesn't always even involve Black Canary or Barbara Gordon. But usually, at least one or both of them is there. But anyway, I digress. So, you've got you've got Black Canary and Huntress both going after the same bad guy who is an extortionist, who's got mob connections, and he's stealing a ton of money and sending it overseas. And they don't care about his illegal endeavors as much as they care about the fact that he played them both. And it's a little bit convenient that, they're both costumed vigilantes that may or may not be okay with killing, and they're, they're both attractive women that are wearing costumes and going out and fighting crime. And they are two of about a dozen women that this guy has slept with and discarded. Okay, so it's that real kind of standard situation. And so they want revenge. So this ends up being a little bit of a revenge thriller, a woman scorned kind of story. Hell hath no fury. And we get their stories about how this guy became the man. He's something of a emotional chameleon. He's like an empathic metamorph. This guy is able to become whatever, almost like he's got a superpower. And I don't think the idea is that it's actually supernatural, that it's really a superpower, but it kind of plays like that, where he can become what a woman's perfect man and make her fall head over heels with him and become obsessed with him, and then he throws her away for the next person. And I thought the idea was going to be, and maybe it will turn out this is the case, but I thought the idea, maybe it'll turn out that he's actually going after these costume characters intentionally, because at the end we're going to find out that a third woman that he scorned is indeed Catwoman. So now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it isn't that contrived. Maybe because I haven't read the rest of it yet, I don't have the revelation of why he's doing what he's doing. But the assumption I intimate early on, and I don't know now, I'm questioning it, was that he intentionally went after them because he profited from it in some way. And so I guess if I read the rest of this, eventually I'll find out. But you get a little bit of a study of the personalities and the MOs of each of these women through their love life, what their big weaknesses are. And Black Canary is, and this is consistent with her relationship with Oliver Queen, falls head over heels for men who are real arrogant and full of themselves and think they're perfect. And that drives her crazy, but at the same time, she can't help herself. She likes that. And then with, and we actually get, we actually get Huntress's, relationship with her with him first. So we get kind of quick flashback montages about their relationships. And with Huntress, it's the opposite. She wants a man who is very vulnerable, almost as if she wants to be the proverbial pants wearer in the relationship. She wants a guy who's real sensitive, who is certainly confident, but says, as she says, all the things that men don't say. She wants more of a mushy thing, and she very stereotypically is interested in a guy who's not afraid of commitment. And Black Canary has the opposite thing, where she doesn't care about commitment. She actually just slept with this guy because it was fun. And that's also pretty consistent with how she sometimes is, although not with Oliver Queen, obviously. So anyway, then we get this obnoxious plot point where that I guess is supposed to be funny from, the female perspective, but my problem with it is just it's too... it's too easy, and two, it reads a little bit, maybe this isn't fair, but with Dixon, it reads a little bit like a man trying really hard to figure out what women would find relatable in relationships. And, oh, he's got a cute backside, and we both recognized him from what his ass looks like on surveillance footage. Okay. Doesn't seem likely that you'd be able to do that, through pants or whatever. And it also reads a little bit, I mean, you certainly want to try to get in the mind of the female perspective as well as possible. Not that every woman is exactly the same. Obviously, I'm not saying that. But you want it to read as authentic and incredible as possible. And it's all guys working on this book. So there's, of course, a bit of a challenge there. But at the same time, you also want to keep your reader base in mind, and this is still sort of eye candy for guys. So and I'm not saying that the whole thing, of course, should be sexually exploitative, and the only reason I'm looking at this is because all the women in the book are attractive, that you got a lot of hot chicks here. But knowing your audience is important, and I don't know how many women are actually reading this book, so there's kind of a line, there's kind of a balance that I would think you would want to find with that, and I wouldn't think that the majority of the audience reading this would find that plot point as amusing as the book is treating as pretending like it is. Maybe that would irritate a lot of female readers as well. I don't know, but I thought that reveal was very eye-rolly. And then you get to the end and you get your real typical major character reveal on the last page. This is your consummate setup issue. First chapter of a miniseries. It is already finding that 4, 5, 6 act structure, or issue structure, I should say, that nearly everything at the big two does now, regardless of whether it's a miniseries. And so on your last page, you gotta have the big character reveal. This would be cooler if we didn't have her on the cover. I don't really understand why you need... It's not even a subtitle. I don't really understand why you need credits of characters. It's not like they're played by actors. Birds of Prey and Manhunt. Black Canary and Oracle on top of it, above the title. We often do this with Birds of Prey, and then underneath Manhunt it says co-starring Catwoman and the Huntress. Here's an idea. Why don't you not have Catwoman on the front and just have a especially because she doesn't even do anything yet. She just, is revealed. And so it's not like she's driving the car that she's driving on the cover or anything. I don't need the cover to be exactly what's in the issue necessarily. And I've said that before, but it's weird to have a reveal like this when I already know Catwoman is in the book, I guess is the point I'm making. Just call it Manhunt and have Huntress and Black Canary on the cover and make us think, oh, okay, it's a 2-character book, especially since your last book was mostly just Oracle, Barbara and Dina, and then reveal Catwoman, and then introduce her in the cover in the next issue. Like, that's pretty easy. That's, I think, what it should have done. I think the banter in this book is pretty good. I really enjoy all the back and forth with Oracle and Black Canary, and it does have the TV show thing where but more with Huntress in that show. But there's a lot of comic book Black Canary in their Huntress, and then their Black Canary is a totally invented character, really, for that show, because she's got to bring the teen angst with her. And anyway, with this, you've got that dynamic where she wants to go farther than Oracle wants to let her, makes a big deal out of, I'm not going to work with people that carry guns. It's the reason that she doesn't want Black Canary working with Huntress at the end. And so I was at home with it there when I first read this, because that is all in the TV show, just with a different character. And then another thing I thought was a nice subtle moment in this comic is there's a bit where Black Canary needs Oracle to help her figure out how a gun works, which it's this like kind of submachine gun, and she somehow knows for sure that she's not going to hurt anybody with it when she starts shooting. Nothing lethal, I just need to cover my next move. Okay, well, there's this almost like plot armor that main characters can give to other characters in comics sometimes, where because I decided I don't want people to die, they're not going to, because it would ruin the story we're trying to tell. But anyway, she needs Oracle to explain how this gun works, so Oracle looks it up, and she says, you know guns, Oracle, and Oracle's response is, I don't like them, but I know them, and she is sitting in the shadows there, kind of closing her eyes, fist clenched, and if you know anything about Barbara Gordon and how she wound up in the wheelchair, you know precisely what she's talking about. So I like that panel quite a bit. Art-wise, it's okay. I like the character models and poses more than I like backgrounds. I feel like this is, I keep complaining about this with 90s comics, but once again, we have a lot of gradient and solid color backgrounds without very much going on. It feels a little bit rushed in that way, and it feels a little bit like color forms, where you have a real simple background and then you have a kind of cutout character that kids can throw on that background and make cool scenes with all these characters where they barely fit on the background. A lot of real thick lines in an outline, almost as if they're separated from the background, which is a stylistic thing I don't mind, but I kind of wish there was a little bit more going on with the backgrounds. Sometimes the faces are too simplistic with characters that aren't our major important characters, and that's kind of my complaint with the artwork. What's weird is I've actually looked at and really disliked this guy's art before it turns out. This is Matt Haley, and don't get me wrong, I think he's probably worked on some things that I thought were okay. He drew Ghost from Dark Horse, which has really cool covers, but I've never actually read. Maybe I should do that at some point. Again, I think he's a fine artist, but or at least a decent workman artist, but the place that I've seen his art that I didn't like was, believe it or not, I'm really glad I looked him up because I almost didn't, the TV show Who Wants to Be a Superhero. Yeah, the reality series, the competitive reality series from 2007 and 8. Got 2 seasons. Stan Lee hosted it, and I've done a superhero rewind on that series back when I was scripting them. So take a look at that if you're curious, because I did a deep dive on that and went real nook and cranny. Did a whole hour, I think, on that series. He did all the artwork for that and was a creative consultant on it, apparently, as well. The art in that really looked like a computer just drew lines over characters and superimposed on that and then took it off. And apparently this guy drew those. Who knew? Anyway, so that's interesting. There's your tidbit for the day. Thanks a lot for watching. Sure appreciate it. And maybe at some point during the year, I'll do an issue from the regular run of Birds of Prey, which what I've read, I like better than this. But I didn't love the setup with this, the premise, but I thought the writing was pretty solid. I tend to like Chuck Dixon. He's one of my favorite, if not Batman writers, Batman family writers, but I mean, I've liked his Batman as well. And anyway, I'm going to review something else again for you tomorrow, because that's the name of the game here. Don't know what it's going to be yet. Probably not Batman related, but you never know. Anyway, I'll see you next time. I was Captain Logan, and happy reading.